Hey, this is Helen, and I'm so excited. I'm here in beautiful Chicago. Have a look. Have a look at this amazing place. Just have a look at the street. Beautiful homes here in Chicago. And I've come here to the wellness clinic of Larry Garrett. Now, who is Larry Garrett? He is well known in the hypnotherapy world. Larry Garrett trained back in 1968, the year that he'd been a hypnotist for 48 years. 48 years, and here we are at the Garrett Hypnosis and Wellness Centre. Now, I have got a treat for you. So, Larry's got an amazing story. It's about a time in 2001 when he was personally requested by the Iraqi government to go to Iraq to hypnotize Saddam Hussein's son during a period of time when it was considered that Iraq was enemy territory. So I'll let Gary tell you the story. So here's Larry, the man himself.
Yep.
One of the best hypnotists of the world, by the way. So one of the most well-known, Larry Garrett. Here we go.
Thank you, Helen, for such a nice compliment. Thank you. Okay, what are we talking about? I don't even know what we're talking about.
Okay, so Larry, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about what did you think the moment that you got the invitation to go to Iraq?
Ooh, when I got an invitation to go to Iraq, I sit here in life with sometimes a little boredom. Oh, what could I do to make life more exciting? So then I think of something, whatever it might be, maybe build a new hypnosis center or something. So I was sitting there thinking I need something to stimulate me, and I get this phone call, and the phone call is a neurologist from Baghdad who is here in Chicago, Illinois, for a medical convention. And he says in this visiting, he's looking for a hypnotist to go to Iraq. And so someone told him that I might be interested in going to Iraq. And so I was very excited. I mean, I'm a pretty naive person. I don't watch the news. I don't read newspapers, so I don't know Iraq's a dangerous country at the time. But it really wasn't dangerous. It was a really exciting venture. But that was an exciting part of being invited.
Yeah. And so you went to Iraq.
I did. I went to Iraq.
And you didn't know who you were going to hypnotize.
That's right. You read the book, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. I was just invited to go to Iraq by this neurologist, this medical man, to hypnotize a patient of his who was a very important businessman who had difficulty walking. And his difficulty in walking was that he had been injured. He just told me he was injured. He didn't tell me he was shot. He was injured, and his left leg was reconstructed, and he had hesitation of putting pressure on his left leg. Did I think I could hypnotize him? You know me, I could hypnotize anybody for anything. If you think you have an idea, I'll hypnotize you. So I said, yeah, I think I can, but let me think about it. But I knew right away I wanted to go. I just wanted to be cool. So let me think about it. I'll let you know tomorrow. But I was excited. It was an exciting venture. I spent a lot of time there. I was there 10 days, 2 different times. That's 20 days. I spent about 60 hours personal time with Uday Hussein. And we were alone. As paranoid as that man was, we were alone. So we spent some nice time talking.
Did you find that he didn't want to reveal any personal information about himself because he couldn't trust you at all? Or how did you get his trust? Because obviously he ended up trusting you. So
he did. How
did you get his trust?
I think I gained his trust by not showing fear or hostility or resistance or tightness of, oh, glad to meet you. So I was just kind of cool, relaxed. I was okay. This is who I am. This is who I am 24 hours a day. I dress nicer usually, but 24 hours a day, I am just me enjoying life at that moment, just saying it's okay. So I think his trust, you have to share a good story, Helen. You bring up a good point. His trust was created the first time I hypnotized him. The first time I hypnotized him, remember this is a big shot. This is a second in command in Baghdad, Iraq. It'd be like hypnotizing the vice president. And so he's got this entourage with him all the time, and he had the first time I hypnotized him was in a hospital, and he had maybe, I want to say 10 or 12 people in this room, bodyguards and medical people. And I knew I needed to control this as a hypnotist. It's like doing stage hypnosis, as you might remember. You got to control the scene. Yeah. So I said to Uday, I said, this is not a theatrical presentation. This is a very intimate process called hypnosis. if you want results, we can't have an audience here. So he said something in Iraq, and whatever he said in this Arabic language, and everybody except 2 people left the room. I knew then that we had created a bond, we had created a trust, because he was willing to get rid of these people for me to, and he didn't even know if I was going to help him or not. But I was invited back again a few months later, because by the 3rd day that I was there, he started walking more normal. He was in more control of his standing, because he had difficulty standing, had difficulty walking. It's really an interesting story, and it's pretty amazing that he was there and I was there, and things happen. Who knows why they happen?
So at any time when you were in Iraq, were you frightened for your life?
No, I never had any fears. One of the things I learned, you asked me earlier this one, I learned to get rid of my fears to go there. I couldn't go there with fear. I couldn't go there if I was scared what was going to happen. So I went there because I trusted. I thought, well, they're inviting me to go there, and I had to clear it with our government here. And so everybody knew I was going there. So I think if something would have happened, probably would have had some repercussions. Like recently we had this journalist go to Saudi Arabia and something happened. Look at what's happening now. So no, I didn't feel fear. I was okay. My friends were fearful. My family was fearful.
Yeah, I read that you went to this family party.
Yeah.
And
it looked like a wake.
And they were actually trying to convince you not to go. Was that right?
That was the day that I'm going to get on the plane at O'Hare Field in Chicago. It was my grandson Larry's birthday. I go to his house for his birthday party, and all of my family's there. And they're like, you'd think somebody died, they're very sad, and they're very down, and they're saying, oh, you shouldn't go. And I said, what's going on here? Usually you guys are all laughing and having fun. We don't want you to go. Well, my plane's leaving in 2 hours. I have to go. No, can't cancel now. So that was true. Yeah.
Wow. And so, that day when 9/11 happened, that terrible day, that tragic day when the Twin Towers came crashing down, here you were in Iraq. So what happened? Take us through how you found out about that.
I was watching the TV with a few. I had created many friends there, many acquaintances there and friends, and I was watching the TV, and on the TV was a scene, and you see the Twin Towers falling down. However, it was all in Arabic, so I didn't know what it was. To me, it looked like it was some kind of movie. And this one man, his name, I can't remember his name right now, but it'll come to me in a moment. And he says, oh, look, Mr. Larry, look at the TV. Look at the TV. That's your country. And I still don't know what's going on. Oh, yeah. I'm watching this movie. It looks like a movie. And he says, no, that's happening in your country. No, they bombed the building. Bombed the building? No. Straighten up. By the way, I have that on video because I have my video camera. I was interviewing him like you're interviewing me. I've got my camera aiming at him, aiming at the TV, and on the TV you can see the building falling, and I'm still in shock that this is real. I mean, how shocked we all are. Where were you on September 11, 2001? I know where I was, on the other side of the world in Baghdad, Iraq.
I know where I was too.
Yeah.
How can you forget it?
Yeah.
So then what happened?
My bodyguard he called a meeting of myself. I was always with this group of people, this group of men, and he called a meeting for us all to meet at the restaurant in the hotel to talk about this. And he says, Uday is going to, they didn't call him Uday, they called him His Excellency. They says, Your Excellency, the patient, they call him the patient, is going to be asking to see you. So then they drove me to Uday's house, and so Uday and I sat and we talked about this, and so he was going to fly me back home the same day or the next day. He says, the next flight out of Baghdad, he says, you'll be on the plane going home, be with your family. I said, okay. I was only there 2 days because I got there September 9th, now it's September 11th. So then, of course, if you might remember, the whole world shut down their fly zones. Nobody flew, no airplanes were flying. So I got stuck in Iraq until September 19th, so I had to stay there all the way another 8 days.
And just you told me personally before, but what did Uday say to you about who would be blamed?
Yeah, Uday and I had a long conversation that day, and I was at his house, and we spent maybe, I want to say an hour and a half, 2 hours talking about this, and he gave me a shortwave radio because everything there was in Arabic, so he gave me shortwave radio so I could hear BBC talking about what had happened in the United States, because I didn't know. I couldn't watch it on TV. I couldn't hear it on the radio. It was just all word of mouth from other people. So Uday says, you know, they called me Mr. Larry all the time. You know, Mr. Larry, your country's going to blame us for this. And sure enough, they did, didn't they?
That's exactly what
And
happened.
I said to him, how could they blame you? They know I'm here with you. It's not like you're out there commanding this force here. But they did blame Iraq, didn't they?
Wow. And just one final question about Uday himself. I mean, there's a lot been written about him, about the kind of personality he has. Is any of that true, or?
Well, it wasn't to me. You know, my publisher asked me to watch this movie called Devil's Double. You ever heard of that movie?
No.
It's about Uday and Saddam had many people who were doubles for them, so they would look like them going down the street because everybody wanted to kill them.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
they were hated people.
Yeah.
So Uday was a very hated person. He was a very feared person. He was a very mean person, but he didn't treat me mean. See, and, you know, we said earlier we're talking about advice to give people. My personality is not to judge other people. So he didn't treat me mean. He treated me with respect. He treated me with kindness. He gifted me in many, many ways. He let me go see things that nobody else could see. I was in Babylon. I went to a Sufi religious experience. You know, if you look on my website, you'll find some information on that. If you go to Audible, you can find a book on Audible. But what I really learned was that these people were genuinely nice people. Not him so much. You know, remember, he was a terrorist and a killer and everything else. But again, I'm going to say this. He treated me okay. That was the main thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He wasn't a nice person.
Could you see him mistreating others?
He didn't mistreat anybody in front of me, but I could see by the personalities that these people had two issues. One is they feared him, and the other one they respected him. Yes.
Okay.
So many people feared him. In fact, I had an email from one of my associates there, a bodyguard of mine, after this war, after the Iraqi war, and he wrote an email how much he hated Uday Hussein. But when I was there, it looked like he loved him, you know, but they were protecting their life.
Wow, okay. So if you can just take away one thing from that whole experience, what would it be? What's your big takeaway from that experience?
Yeah. Not to dislike people because of a group. You know, I remember after the war started, I remember talking to a few people, and people would say things like this, Helen. They'd say, kill all those Iraqis, kill them all. Yeah, and it's like, you know, don't trust people from that country. Don't trust the Russians. You know, we take a government group and we blame the people. Yeah. And we say, all those Iraqi people are no good. The Iraqi people were nice people. They were every place I'd go, they'd go like this. I say, why are they bowing to me? That's respect for you visiting their country. Oh, okay. I was in the market. I met many, many Iraqi people on the streets, every place I went. Not once did I have a discomfort. And I would ask people, I thought you people hated Americans. No, we don't hate Americans. We hate your government. But every one of them treated me with kindness and love.
Wow. Yeah. And you had your own 24/7 bodyguard, didn't you?
24/7 bodyguard. Always there. Anything I wanted, he was always there. And then Uday was always trying to impress me. One time he said, he'd say, Mr. Larry, would you like to see the powers of the mind mixed with God? Yeah, I'd like to see that. He says, tonight, he says, I'm going to take you for a special event. So we went to this event. There was a Sufi people, and we put the book over there, but the Sufi people would inflict discomforts in their body, but not feel the discomforts. There's some pictures. Are you finding them over there? There's some pictures, and you can see this little boy, and he sticks a skewer in his mouth, and it comes out the other side, and pulls out, and there's no blood. There's one picture in the book of me trying to pull the dagger out of the man's head. It won't come out. That was a wonderful experience. I mean, I never saw such a thing in my life. People might doubt it, but look it up. Here's a good one, Helen, we didn't talk about. The Amarillo bomb shelter. The day after 9/11, Uday said, I told him I had heard from this one man, Ali. That was the one I told you about earlier. I was interviewing Ali. So Ali says to me, ask him to take you to this bomb shelter. Okay. So I asked Uday, can we go to the bomb shelter? Yeah, I'll have him take you. So they took me to the bomb shelter the day after 9/11 to show me where 420 women and children were killed during the War of 1991, in February 1991. And this bomb shelter was huge, huge big building. Remember, it's hold 400 people.
Yeah.
And the Americans had bombed this bomb shelter thinking it was an artillery base. And when the bomb went in, it exploded inside and it carbonized all of the bodies to the walls and the ceilings and everything. I have some of that on video. It's a wonderful video. We ought to get that video to you. Maybe I have a copy here and you could put it on YouTube sometime or something. But there were body parts on the ceiling and on the walls and everything.
God.
Yes, it was horrible, just horrible.
Oh
and I had a
God.
tour of that. I had an hour tour of that. So I learned some good things there.
Wow.
It was a great experience.
What an incredible
I
experience.
wouldn't trade it for anything. It was a great, and that's also in my book there about the Amarillo bomb shelter and some pictures.
There you go. And so, I mean, Larry could have easily said no to going over to Iraq because no other American had gone to Iraq for 10 years.
Yeah.
And he didn't know who he was going to see, who he was going to treat, but he went with no fear. And out of that, he had the most amazing, incredible experience. So thank you so much. But before you go, what I'll do is I'll actually show you the books that Larry's... Do you want to show... Larry, do you want to show the books your books?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wrote two books actually. One's called Healing the Enemy was the first book.
Yeah.
And then the second book is called Hypnotizing the Devil, because the first book they wouldn't publish. But as we spoke briefly about these people had incredible abilities to inflict discomforts. Look at, can we get that picture of that little boy with the skewer going through his mouth?
God.
Right, look at that. Now let me show you one more before I shut off here of myself. And this was the amazing part. This man stuck a dagger in his head. And that's me trying to pull the dagger out of his head. And I couldn't get the dagger out of his head. How did he put the dagger in his head? Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah, incredible.
That is amazing. It really is.
Good story, huh?
Okay,
Good story.
amazing story.
Yeah,
I'm just so blessed to be here in Chicago.
I'm so blessed you're here.
And,
Thank you.
and sharing these stories here with Larry. So have a great day, everyone. And see you from me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good to meet you.